Shalom, everybody. What's going on? Welcome to the Hebrew Woman Show. I am your host, Renaissance Woman, aka Ren Judah. And so today I had an event. So I did a drive time live for you guys, and I normally do the drive time live on the Working Class Chronicles. If you haven't already done so, please go over there, like, share, subscribe to both of my channels, and let's just get into this show. Normally this is the Sabbath show, and as I said earlier, I was out and I did a drive time live for you. However, that does not mean that I will not go forth and do the work that we are supposed to be doing here on this channel. The purpose of this channel is that we get together and we explore our biblical principles. Because for me being a person of faith is not just about that the look. It's not about trying to pretend that you will project a image of holiness. It is about actually trying, attempting, making the attempt, and doing it in good faith and actually walking the walk. And that's not always easy. And one of the things I can say as a recovering perfectionist is that it's never going to be perfect. And I remember growing up, always hearing people when we used to go to church, or my grandmother would ask someone why, or what they would come to church. I'm not in church yet. I'm just waiting to get myself together. And I do understand now as an adult that if you keep waiting before you're perfect, if you keep waiting until your life becomes perfect, if you keep waiting to serve God when you get it together, you're never going to make it, right? Because He knows you. He created you. He knows your strengths. He knows your weaknesses. The thing is, do you? That's why Second Corinthians, we have this on every slideshow. 2 Corinthians 13:5 says, what? Examine yourselves, whether ye be in the faith. Prove your own selves. Know ye not your own selves how Christ is in you, except ye be reprobate. So a lot of us are walking around reprobate because we don't know ourselves. We don't examine ourselves. Know ye not your own selves how Christ is in you? You don't know because you don't examine yourself. You don't look at your life. You don't tell yourself the truth. And if you don't tell yourself the truth, you're not going to be free. Christ said, ye shall know the truth and it shall set you free. But a lot of us, we're walking around here, we're hiding under the covers, hoping that the monster doesn't eat us. And the monster is you. You have to be able to look yourself in the eye. You have to be able to face yourself and face your own demons. And that is something that I am doing in this season. That is something that I am striving to do and that I navigate. And my whole purpose is to come here and share that journey with you. It's not to sit here and talk at you and to pontificate. It is to share because I know I'm not the only one going through, right? The other thing that we do here, Titus 2:1 says, but speak thou things which become sound doctrine, that the aged men be sober, grave, temperate, sound in faith, in charity, in patience, that the aged women do what? That they be likewise, that they be in the behavior as becometh holiness, not false accusers. Don't be a liar, not given to too much mind. Don't be a drunkard. Teachers of good things, teaching your babies how to twerk and shake their ass is not being a teacher of good things. Are you teaching them virtue? Are you teaching them morals and ethics? I'm not telling you don't dance. I'm just telling you, can you dance for the Lord? Now, how about that? Listen, we are supposed to be teachers to the younger women so that they can be sober, to love their husbands, to love their children, to be chaste, keepers at home, good, obedient to their husbands, that the word of God not be blasphemed. And I want to tell you something. To be discreet, everybody does not need to know your business. Everybody doesn't need to know what's going on under your clothes. Keep us at home. We all know busybodies, women who run around in everybody's business. You always got your feet over in somebody else's house, in somebody else's car, in somebody else's cubicle. You can't mind your own damn business to save your life with your messy self. You're always messing with folks. You're a meddler, okay? And this is the type of behavior that we want to avoid so that the word of God not be blasphemed, okay? Don't be out here getting drunk and wandering the streets. Don't be out here. I know y'all say y'all be turning up and you kicking it and all that. That's fine, but there's a time and place for everything, and you definitely don't need to be drunk to have a good time. Wait a minute, that reminds me of that old song in the 80s. Anyway, that's another story. We'll talk about that and on the Working Class Chronicles. Listen, we are here to train ourselves to think biblically and not emotionally. We are not robots. We're not automatons. We have feelings, and it is not that you're not meant to feel them. But here's the thing: do you know how to do that? Do you know how to sit? And this is the whole purpose of prayer and meditation. And this is something that I've always said, and you've heard me say it here before. I feel like the Christian church and so many other faiths have dropped the ball on prayer and meditation. You can tell somebody, go pray and meditate, go pray about it, but I don't know how because I don't know how to be still. Because even when I was a child, right? Who taught me how to sit down and be still? And what do you do when your children are crying and upset? You don't teach them how to sort through those emotions. You stick a sucker in their mouth and tell them to go sit down. You give them a piece of candy, it's a cake or something. Go watch a movie. Go play the video game. Go do anything, but you don't teach them how to manage their emotions. And that's why we have so many adult children. We have grown people in their 40s and 50s in office spaces today acting like high school girls. Okay. And I remember it really struck me when we so you talk about John McCain's candidacy and how when he nominated Sarah Palin as his vice presidential candidate, how people were just talking about when the people from her hometown just talking about how juvenile she was and how that she basically ran her office like she was a high school girl. And it makes sense to me because when I look at a lot of the behavior that I see in a lot of spaces today, I see a lot of adult children. And these people are not, they do not know how to regulate themselves emotionally. They still haven't got out of the clique phase where you go through high school and you click up the cool kids versus all the different types of groups. If you look at most modern day office spaces, they are divided into those cliques. And so it's like people just transitioning from one high school to another. They go leave high school and you're supposed to be transitioning into adulthood and you get to work and you carry on the same behavior and then you look up and you're 60 years old and you're still playing games, you know. So this is why we have to examine ourselves, and this is why we study the word and we go back and when we talk about Titus and making sure part of sobriety, when the Bible here talks about being sober, that means that you are paying attention, you are alert. So what is sober? When people talk about sobriety, you only think in terms of drugs and alcohol, but to have a sober mind is to have a conscious mind. It is to be present. It is to be mindful and aware of what's going around you, what's going on around you and in you, not just around you, but in you, so that you can train yourself to behave in behavior that becomes holiness. And here's the thing: you don't know everything. And I always make this reference here. Let's think about Jethro advising Moses. Moses could have said, "Listen, man, I don't need you to tell me what to do. Hey, I'm the man of God. I know what I'm doing. I got this." He gave this to me. He listened to wise counsel. You don't know everything. And I do love how one of the things that was stressed to us at Focus St. Louis was to create your own personal board of advisors. That is one of the most important things that you are going to do for yourself to provide, to get yourself, just like these women in this image, surround yourself with wise women. Surround yourself with wise men and women. When you seek a husband, you should be seeking someone who is wiser than you. You want somebody who can help guide and teach you and nurture you. You are looking for your leader, right? Because if we do believe in the order of things, right, it says that man is the head. And so all I'm saying is if you're going to go get one, don't get a dumb one. Proverbs 11 and 14 says, where no counsel is, the people fall. But in a multitude of counselors, there's safety. So that didn't say just go get one or two. I got one best friend. I don't like these women. These women. So you were already taught to dislike your own self. You've already been trained to dislike women. So you're walking around here with this natural. because it's been programmed in you dislike for yourself and other women. You are going to have to be trained out of that. And you're going to have to learn how to judge a tree by the fruit that it bears and not base your likes and dislikes based upon someone's sex. Okay? Is this person wise? Is this someone who has what I'm looking for? They always say when you're looking for a mentor or a coach, seek out someone who has what you want. And when they say have what you want, we're talking about that has those attributes that you're looking for in terms of growth and development and progression. Okay? And I always like to give a second witness or a second and third witness often to whatever scriptures I'm sharing with you so that you know, because the Bible says with everything, let two or more witnesses, let everything be established. So these aren't just cherry picking of scriptures because it all goes together. Proverbs 19 and 20. Hear counsel and receive instruction that thou may be wise in thy latter end. So who are you going to receive instruction from? Who are you going to receive counsel from? You're not going to do it listening to a damn fool. And so you know you have to do it because Proverbs 28 and 26 says, he that trusteth in his own heart is a fool. But whoso walketh wisely, he shall be delivered. So if you walk wisely and you surround yourself with a group of wise counselors, you will be delivered. Do you hear that? And so, again, when I talk about judging a tree by the fruit that it bears, 1 John 4 and 1 says, beloved, believe not every spirit, but try the spirits whether they are of God, because many false prophets have gone out into the world. So that's not me telling you just go get you a group of damn fools and listen to them. I'm telling you to try the spirit. Try the spirit means what? Judge a tree by the fruit that it bears. You watch people, you listen, you pay attention, stop, look, listen. So you'll know what's going on. Because guess what? When you find the right people, Proverbs 27 and 17 says, iron sharpeneth iron, so a man sharpeneth the countenance of his friend. When you surround yourself with wise people, they will make you better. They will make you sharper. They will make you stronger. Proverbs 29 and 18 says, where there is no vision, the people perish. But he that keepeth the law is happy. So our whole purpose here, my friends, is to fear God, keep the commandments. We are here to keep the law, and we are here to do it wisely and with a spirit of discernment, okay? So back to our leadership journey. We've been covering the 21 irrefutable laws of leadership. Why? Because one of Maxwell's traits he says all the time is that leadership is not built in a day. It is a process. And one of my favorite laws is the law of process, and it is something that it has become one of my favorite laws because I've learned as I've been going through my leadership journey here, the things that I've been experiencing at work, at home, at play, it all comes together, and it's just amazing. Once I decided to move forward and grow as a leader, that all the lessons and things just came. Last night I posted an article on the Hebrew Woman page on Facebook. So please go to Facebook, like, share, and subscribe to those channels as well, or pages. I have the Hebrew Woman Show page, I have the Renaissance Woman page, and I have the Working Class Chronicles. As you absorb this content, you will understand why each of these pages exist, because they have their own particular content that is specific to the needs therein. So but I wanted to share this because this is Hebrew Woman content. The meaning of what I wrote. It says, when they promise your destruction, this is the Sabbath respond. And it is an article for Hebrew women under fire. Listen, I don't even know if we're going to get to chapters to the seventh law today, the law of respect, because I really wanted to talk about this article I wrote last night. And I really wanted to expand on it. And I know a lot of people don't have time. And when you see long articles online, sometimes there's a tendency to just skim past them. And there's even a study, I have to see if I can find that for you guys and post it. But it was talking about how most people don't complete an article. They just read like a fourth of it or so. But I felt like all the points here were so essential. And there were so many things that I just was going through. And I just wanted to share with you because, like, as I experience these things, that I have been experiencing, I know I'm not the only one. And so, in a leadership journey, because for me, this is not just about trying to grow as a leader, this is about me trying to grow spiritually as well. So, because the leadership part is about you showing up as a woman of God and what that looks like, because as a representative of the Most High, we need to be trained. And so actually going forward, I really think we just need to take our time and not only slow walk these laws of leadership, but we need to go back. And Zell and I, we have been here, we have been covering, we were doing Bible study, and I'd like to pick that back up. And I'd like for us to start in the Exodus. So when we come back together this week sometime, I want us to talk about the Exodus and start studying from there. You know what? Let's just start over. We'll just hit Genesis. You know what? Yeah, why not? This is a great time to start over and practice. You know, so I want you guys this week, make time for your faith. Study Genesis, and we'll come and talk about it. Okay? Tell me, as a matter of fact, tell me what leadership lessons you can pull out of Genesis, and I'll do the same, and we'll come back and we'll compare notes. So, this is an article for Hebrew Women Under Fire. There are moments in life when someone looks you in the eye and tells you in one way or another, they intend to eradicate you, to eliminate you, to remove you from the picture. And when that happens on a Thursday, you have a responsibility on a Friday evening, not to them, but to him. And so I had an experience on a Thursday and turned around. Here comes the Sabbath. Oh, wow. I'm in warrior mode. I'm ready to protect, defend, get this together. But guess what? The Sabbath came. It's time to lay your arms down and rest. Not because because the Sabbath comes whether you want it to or not. So for me, it was just, and I was like, I have to explain, I have to talk about this, and I have to, because I'm learning that my voice is important. And if I do this for no other reason, I do it for me, and I do it to free me, because it is a hell of a thing to have someone look you in the face and tell you that they're going to eradicate you. Okay? And so let's just talk about the peculiar position of the Hebrew woman. Let's be clear about something. Spiritual warfare doesn't come dressed in obvious demonic garb. So it's not going to show up looking like Satan. It's not going to have on a big a red suit and a long pointed tail and a pitchfork, okay? That's not what is going to happen. A lot of times it says here that sometimes it shows up in a pantsuit and a title. Sometimes it speaks in professional language while releasing an ancient spirit of Haman. Sometimes your Pharaoh has an office on the same floor. They may even be sitting in the cubicle right next to you. They may. I'm sorry about that. Let me continue. Okay. So I lost my place. My husband's messing with me. Listen. Um, let's be clear about something. Spiritual warfare doesn't always come dressed in obvious demonic garb. Sometimes it shows up in a pantsuit and a title. Sometimes it speaks in professional language while releasing an ancient spirit of Haman. Sometimes your Pharaoh has an office on the same floor, and you, daughter of Sarah, daughter of the covenant, are called to respond not as the world responds, but as a woman who fears God and keeps his commandments. This is not theoretical. This is not a Bible study and abstraction. This is what it looks like when, for such a time as this, means Thursday is the threat, the person who has positioned themselves as your adversary. Your worship is not contingent on their warfare. So for me, it didn't matter what happened. You know, we talk about all these office strategies, and we're doing the Office Terminator series, and we're talking about strategic positioning and being able to put yourself in proper position. And so for me, being put in proper position is not just making sure that you're showing up where you're supposed to showing up and you're documenting how you're supposed to document, but you also have to be spiritually aligned. And so that means you have to set aside time to rest. Every warrior needs rest, okay? And so it was just something that I struggle with, and I still struggle with, because I am a person who ruminates, and I will get to thinking about all the things that someone said and why they said it, and trying to reason, like, well, why is this happening? Like, it doesn't make sense. And especially considering, at the age, I'm like, these people, we're not in high school. Why can't people just do what they're supposed to do and go on about their day? But I had to face the reality, this is not the world that you live in. And so for me, these cartoons, these streams, these postings, these stories that I'm telling are ways for me to express my frustration and my creativity all in one place. And it's amazing. I feel free. I'm happier than I've been in a while, because I am learning to, Maxwell, in the last chapter we listened to, he talked about the serenity prayer. And it's funny, the serenity prayer comes up at a time where I'm like in this, and it's like, yeah, God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things that I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. And I love that Maxwell put that in his books, because that is a universal prayer. I feel like that can be used anywhere, because I do need to the serenity is to be able to release, to relax, and let go. And that's what's supposed to happen on the Sabbath. And I need the courage to know that and do what I can change. I can change my spirit. I can change my positioning. I can learn how to change my mind to put on the whole armor of the Lord, and also be able to come and rest. So let me continue here. Here's what the enemy wants. He wants their threats to consume you completely, that you forget whose you are. He wants you to be focused on what they said, what they're planning, what they might do, that you violate the Sabbath through fear, anxiety, and obsessive mental warfare. I am a person who obsesses, and I'll let that fear, that anxiety, I'll let all that creep in and throw me off my mark. And that was one of the things that I loved about going through the leadership programs, is because when I did those leadership, like the EQI leadership report and the Clifton Strengths report, it was able to show me where my strengths and weaknesses are, and I'm able to shore up those weaknesses, so I know how I respond under fire. I know what's my go to when I'm under pressure. These are important things to know, so that you can be able to have the wherewithal to respond with dignity, grace, and wisdom. And also that you put yourself in a position to get around some wise counsel, okay? He wants you to choose survival over obedience. Everybody knows that when you are in survival mode, you do not make wise decisions. When I was in my 20s, I got introduced to the value in the valley, and that was one of the old. I'll never forget when I worked at Rib Cafe as a cold side cook. One of the servers named Sandy came to me, and she told me to read this book. She gave me The Value in the Valley, and it changed my life. I started to understand, and it's crazy. Shortly after she gave me that book, Oprah launched her Change Your Life series, and I started watching that. And Iyanla Vanzant ended up being one of the people who hosted one of the segments on the show. And so I started consuming everything Iyanla Vanzant, and I just have to say that there is value in the valley, and I strongly recommend that you give this book to any young woman in your life. And I don't care how old you get, you're never too old to read it. it is a great reminder about accountability, about how we choose to show up and oftentimes blame other people for the decisions that we make. And I remember being a person who would be like, well, I wouldn't have done that if you hadn't have did this. And yeah, and that's not me saying that other people aren't responsible for their behavior. They are, but you are also responsible for how you respond. And you don't get a free pass because someone pissed you off. So I just wanted to say, if you do get a chance, make sure you pick up that book and read it. And if you do, shoot me a message. I like to hear from you and what your experience is with the book, what you get out of it, and with anything that we share here or that you want us to talk about. I'm always happy to hear from you. The email is on the screen. It's sister7@gmail.com. That's SISTAH7@gmail.com. And yeah, just shoot me an email. Let's see, where were we? So he wants you to choose survival mode over obedience. But here's the truth that will set you free. They don't get to determine whether you keep the commandment. Your job, your friends, whatever it is that is in your way that you're battling with, that your following of the law is not contingent upon that. You understand that? You understand that you are called and commanded to do the right thing and to fear God and keep his commandments no matter what. No matter how nasty things get wherever you are, you still have to be in order. When the sun sets on Friday evening, the Sabbath arrives, whether you are ready or not. Whether your enemy has been neutralized or not, whether the threat has been resolved or not, the creator of heaven and earth has commanded you to reset, and your obedience to him supersedes their threats against you. This is where we learn what we really believe about sovereignty. I, and I and I have to say, if I can, when I get in that mode, if I can just keep that in mind, that nothing that happens on your job, off your job, at work, at home, at play, supersedes the need to keep the law. And that has to always be forthright in your mind. That's why some people you'll see wear the fringes as their visual reminder that I am representing something bigger than me. That God's will is bigger than you. And that somebody is watching you. And that is the whole purpose of us talking about leadership here. Because walking this walk, we have to understand that we are representatives and we need to be fully trained as we go out and we teach, we talk, we live, we love, we laugh. We have to do it, making sure we keep his will at the forefront of our minds. Grace, love, and light are not weaknesses. So when you go to work and the person is showing up and they're toxic, when you go visit your mother-in-law, and they're being toxic and they're being mean and somebody is verbally abusing you, you still have to show up representing the true and living God. See, there's a lie that circulates in our communities that walking in grace means becoming a doormat, that showing love means tolerating evil, that being a light means dimming yours so that others feel comfortable. That's not what this is. Let me be clear when I say we're called to walk in grace, love, and light, even when they walk in malice. I'm not talking about weakness. I'm talking about maintaining your standard regardless of their behavior. Grace means you don't become what they are. And you guys know I say this all of the time. You will become what you hate. When you go here and we listen to some of these podcasts and we hear these people talking, and next thing you know, now the women are doing a version of what the men are doing. And so now everybody is engaged in toxic behavior because you can't get in the mud pit and think you're gonna stay clean. You just can't. Love means you don't carry their poison in your spirit. Light means you expose darkness by being different than it. You don't get to fight fire with fire, so to speak. You're fighting with, and if you do fight it with fire, you got to fight it with spiritual fire, right? Holy fire. You don't get to do what they're doing, okay? Because they're playing with hellfire. You don't want no smoke. You don't want none of that. You can document every word. You can build your case with precision. You can strategize like Nehemiah with a sword in one hand and a trowel in the other, and you can still keep the Sabbath. Keep the Sabbath. Remember the Sabbath day and keep it holy. You are commanded to do so. It's the fourth commandment, right? You can still pray and follow Christ's commandment. When he said, "But I say to you, love your enemies, bless those who curse you, do good to those who hate you, and pray for those who spitefully use you and persecute you." You can still refuse to let their hatred transform you into a hateful woman. And listen, when Christ told you to love your enemies and bless those who curse you, this is not about you allowing people to walk all over you. It's literally about you just sometimes just walking away. But keep in mind, there are times when you will fight. Because what did Christ tell you he was coming back to do? He didn't tell you he was coming back to sing kumbaya. He was coming back with a sword dipped in blood. What do you think that means? He's coming back for war. And we are soldiers of the Most High. I'm a soldier of the Most High. And so, but I do know that there are rules to this warfare. Okay? We don't allow people to make us become what we hate. We transform that. We transmute that energy into something positive, and we can walk in love and light and do that and fight at the same time. I'm just telling you it's possible. Okay? So let's get back to it. This is the peculiar witness of the Hebrew woman. We fear God more than we fear what they can do. So, and it makes me think of when God told him, say, "Go up, don't be afraid of him." You know, there are times when he will send you out to fight, and you don't have to be afraid because he will be with you. The thing is, you need to make sure that he is with you before you go. And in order to do that, you have to make sure that you are in alignment with his will. And if you are not sure, then that means you don't need to act. You need to be still and know that he is God and God all by himself. So let's talk about the Sabbath as strategic spiritual warfare. Did you guys hear what I just read? Sabbath as strategic spiritual warfare. So when we're talking about strategy all week in our other on our other programming, this is at the end of the day for me personally. I can only speak for me because I take the Most High with me in all things that I do. It is all spiritual warfare for me, but we have to be strategic about it. And the Sabbath is part of that strategy. Here's what they don't understand: your rest is your resistance. Did you hear me? Your rest is your resistance. You cannot fight. You cannot think straight. You cannot perform properly. You can't do what you're supposed to do if you're weary, if you're broken down and you're tired. And that's something I didn't understand. I wasn't taking care of my body. I wasn't making sure that I would go in rejuvenated, hale, and whole. You understand? I had to stop and understand. And so today, one of my commitments that I gave that I was going to do for myself, I said that I'm going to love and approve of myself and heal my body. And that's what I want you all to do. We're also going to take up, for those of you who all are interested in Louise Hay's Blue Book of Health, and start reading that. It's just a little daily, like listening to the affirmations. Like, again, this is part of, for me, the law of process. It is a build. You build upon it. You build upon it. And it's not just about reading books about leadership. It is a whole body, a spiritual, mental, and physical transformation that I'm trying to manifest here. And I have to do that. But it begins with the renewing of my mind. And that is only going to come through daily reading, prayer, and meditation. And so again, I ask you to join me and let's start in Genesis, okay? So the Sabbath is spiritual warfare. Here's what they don't understand: your rest is your resistance. When you lay down the battle Friday evening, you're not surrendering to them, you're surrendering to him. You're declaring that he is the one who fights for you while you rest. You're training yourself in the kind of trust that terrifies the enemy. See, they're not ready for this. because they don't have this level of trust. They don't have, see, if their foundation was rooted in righteousness, you wouldn't be going through what you're going through with these people. You wouldn't be having the issues that you're having with these people. And I had to understand that. I had to get clear in my mind to understand that you are dealing with this is spiritual warfare. You are fighting against principalities. You are fighting against wickedness in high places. And so you have to gird yourself. And your Sabbath has to be part of your strategy. My rest has to be my resistance. So let me get right back to it. It says you're training yourself in the kind of trust that terrifies the enemy, because a woman who can rest in the middle of a threat is a woman who knows something they don't know. She knows who holds her life. She knows who vindicates. She knows who promised that no weapon formed against her shall prosper. The Sabbath teaches you to release what you cannot control and to trust the one who controls all things. And when you go back to work on Monday, you go back refreshed, refocused, and anchored in something deeper than their threat. And for me, that is enough. Knowing that God holds the keys to all of this. And so when you show up in these places and they tell you you don't belong here, you're not qualified to be here, you don't have the education to be here, you don't have the experience to be here, even though you may have all of those things. You're overeducated, you're overqualified, you just do too much. You know, we were looking for a damn fool. That's what they were looking for, and that's not you. And when they discovered that, it terrifies them. When you are in an environment where people want to misuse you, misunderstand you purposefully, you have to move strategically. You have to go out and put on the whole armor of God so that you can withstand the wiles of the devil. And let's just be frank. And I know a lot of people, you're like, oh, that's old folks talk. But honey, these people are demons. They are truly wicked. And until you acknowledge that and you start looking at spirits, you know, people will be like, oh, are they talking about spirits? You know, she one of them crazy church people. Let me tell y'all something. Pay attention to the personality traits of certain types of people. When if you've ever had the misfortune of encountering a narcissist, and unfortunately, because of social media, which from what I understand is the blame they're saying for a lot of this narcissism we have, you'll notice it carries a certain type of energy, just like other sorts of things that the Bible calls the sin. These behaviors, these particular behaviors, these people all act alike. When you encounter a true narcissist, you'll see that energy is consistent with all the other people who you know are narcissists. When you run across people who are habitual liars, if you pay attention, you'll notice they have the same energy as other people who you know are habitual liars. That's why after a while, that's why the Bible says try the spirit. Because if you try these spirits, you'll know. You'll know if it's a good or bad spirit. You know when you're dealing with people who, oh, she got good energy. Yeah, that's what's up. I can see how you move. People who are decent and just trying to do the right thing, they carry a certain type of energy with them. People who are backbiters, liars, thieves, they all carry a certain type of energy. You just have to open yourself up to pay attention, open your eyes. This is why you pray for revelation. This is why you pray for the Holy Spirit, because when you receive it, it is about revelation. He will reveal to you the things that you need to see. Once you are in spiritual alignment with the Most High, people can call this woo-woo if they want, but you all know, just like I know, a lot of the things that you see, it's consistent. We all know a mean ass woman when we see her. You don't even need her to open her mouth. It's something about the way she moves in her body. You know a mean man when you see him and you get the hell out of his way. You know when you see people who are up to no good, it's an energy in the way that they walk as they approach you. You're like, oh, I know I'm not the only one. You have been out here walking, going to stores, wherever you go out here in this world, you know you have ran into these people where you felt that energy and you knew to get the hell away from them. You have gone to places. So let y'all can let people fool y'all into walking around here spiritually blind if you want to. You can get psyched out and think this is some woo woo shit if you want to, but you better open up and pay attention because these people are carrying demons with them. And them demons, I'm telling you, that I make sure when I go in my office, the first thing I do in the morning is I read off my scriptures of protection. Okay? And I make sure I read every day my Psalms on my board. And let's see. Psalm, and I have a list of Psalms that I put up there. And I make sure I have Isaiah up there, Isaiah 54 and 17. I have that on my board on my wall. I have it taped to the back of my door. I have it I have a mini fridge in my office. I have it on a magnet on my refrigerator. I have it in my clipboard folder that I take with me. I have that scripture in there everywhere I go because I know I need to have on the whole armor of the Lord because I understand what I'm dealing with. This is spiritual warfare because you cannot tell me that when wickedness goes on to the level where it is just flat right illegal and blatant and nothing is being done about it. I know when you talk about wickedness, spiritual wickedness in high places, we're going to go right to it. Telling you, Ephesians 6 and 12, for we wrestle not against against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against rulers of darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. I see spiritual wickedness in high places, and I know that I cannot go out here unarmed. We're gonna go right to these because I look at God right there, pop right up on my screen. I didn't even type it in; it popped up in my search. Ephesians 6:11. Okay, put on the whole armor of God, that ye may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil. Okay, for we wrestle not with flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against rulers of darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. Wherefore you take unto you the whole armor of God, that ye may be able to stand in, that ye may be able to withstand in the evil day. Matter of fact, let me print this out. Stand, therefore, having your loins girt about with truth, and having on the breastplate of righteousness, and your foot shod with preparation of the gospel of peace. And above all, taking the shield of faith, wherewith ye shall be able to quench all fiery darts of the wicked, and take the helmet of salvation and the sword of the Spirit, which is the sword of God, praying always with all prayer and supplication in spirit, watching thereunto with all perseverance and supplication for all saints. Listen, praying always with all prayer and supplication in spirit and watching. Be ye watchful and be ye also ready. We have to watch, we have to pray, and we have to be prepared. And I'm going to tell you guys something. These spirits are so cunning. And so you guys think about it. And me and I was talking to Nyla earlier today, and she was talking about, demons, the spirits. She said, like, you think about it, they beguile people because I was talking about how charming the narcissist I know is, and how very likable the person is, and even makes you feel sorry for them. And That's what demons do. They beguile you. They try, but see, once you see it and you're exposed to it, you become and you develop an immunity to it. They become angry, and then they have to set out to destroy you. That is why the person was comfortable enough to tell me in my face they were going to eradicate me. And I'm just telling you, when you get to a point where a demon has targeted you like that, you need the Most High. And you need prayer, and you need for the people around you to pray, and you need to make sure that you just you go out here, and you don't be afraid. We don't fear Satan and his minions, because we understand what we're dealing with. And you don't have to do anything, because he'll take care of it. Because guess what? I'm gonna go right to it, because I mean we on fire right now. Woo! Popped up again. I don't know if this. I'm telling you, I definitely know. I definitely have to start studying more, because I do not study nearly as much as I need to, because I should be able to go right to these by now. And that just lets me know something else too. I'm telling you, I also made a commitment to myself that I was going to stop running around here giving all this time to other things that when I needed to be giving it to my God, to making sure that I know His word, that I've studied like I need to, because I feel like I've even just gotten rusty with it. Like I don't remember things that I should, and that I'm not prayed up and as studied up. But we're going to remedy that. So anyway, I'm going to go right to. I like the KJV version. So let's see if I get there. We go. And so this is Second Chronicles 20:15. And he said, Hearken ye all Judah, and ye inhabitants of Jerusalem, and thou King Jehoshaphat. Thus saith the Lord unto you, Be not afraid or dismayed by reason of this great multitude, for the battle is not yours, it's God. So when we're out here fighting these demons and this wickedness in this world, these principalities, don't be afraid or dismayed by this mass army, this great horde, okay? Because this battle is not yours. This belongs to the Lord. And He has promised you protection. He has promised you His love and protection. And if we believe that He has built a hedge around us, we don't need to worry about people targeting us. And while, no, I don't have to be afraid, I don't have to tolerate it either, because we all deserve to show up in places and spaces where we work, being in peace. We should all be able to do our work in peace. The work is hard enough as it is. And, that's why I have my little Bob Skaggs thing going right now, because I love that quote. I don't mind the job. The work's no big deal. It's the way they treat you, the way they make you feel, and that is real. It's not the job. Most of the things that I've been doing, it has not been the job. The job is not the problem. It's the behavior that is allowed to be facilitated and not addressed. As if we just close our eyes, it's just going to go away. No, together, collectively, we win when we fight against bad behavior, when we fight against toxic work environments, when we fight against unrighteousness. We win collectively, because we want to show up in better places. We want happy, whole, healthy relationships in workspaces. And we deserve that. And we can have that. But it starts by not turning a blind eye to bad actors. Okay? Pretending something is not happening does not make it not exist. And, I wanted to share this with you. I really want to get into this, because this is just where my heart is today. This is where my mind was, and I know we're supposed to be doing the next chapter, and I have no problem with waiting, and I'll slow walk this, because I'm not in a hurry. Shalom does. I wanted to take my time, and I wanted to go through that, and I wanted to talk about that. And if you are going through something, if you are in a toxic work environment, or if you're in a toxic home environment, if you have a mother-in-law, daughter-in-law, aunt, uncle, whatever toxic environment you are in, I am creating a safe space where we're going to have meeting space where you can come and talk. You don't even have to have your name on your avatar. I'm going to start hosting a room on Clubhouse where you can come and you can talk about it. And what I'm doing differently about this space is you're allowed to share, but people aren't allowed to give feedback unless you ask. Because I do know that one of the things that we struggle with is we don't know how to listen. And I'm definitely guilty of that. And I always want to give my opinion. Listen, sometimes people just want to vent. Sometimes they just want to be heard. And I want to create a space for that. And if you want feedback, then you can ask and we'll go do the round and ask who wants to share. But other than that, you get to vent and you get to vent and you show up. But the rooms will be vetted, so you don't have to worry about the trolling either. I'm not going to allow people to just come in there and troll. You either come in, you act like you got some sense, or you got to go. But I feel like we need these spaces because so many people are navigating toxic work environments and you don't know what to do. But I'll tell you this, you reach out to me, I will do a one-on-one with you and I will give you my strategy. I will tell you what I've done to protect myself and why it's worked and why I've been able to maintain the way I have as long as I've had, even when facing direct attack. I will share that with you because I think a lot of times people just don't have the tools. They don't know what they can and can't do. And sometimes it will depend on what type of work you do or what type of environment you're in. Okay? So that's something we can talk about. At any rate, thank you for coming. Thank you for watching. Please, please, please um, make sure you get caught up. 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. If you're doing the worksheets, that's great. I recommend doing the workbook. I'm going to start back on mine. Um, Let me know if you're reading and following along. Shoot me an email at sister7@gmail.com. Let's talk about it. As a matter of fact, I want to do a panel this week over on the Working Class Chronicles. I would love for you all to join me. If you're interested in joining, shoot me an email as well. Thanks for watching. Shalom. And I hope you all did have a restful and wonderful Sabbath. This was one of the best I've had in a long time. Shalom.